What happens when we hand decisions about human safety to machines? Artificial intelligence is rapidly entering the world of occupational health and safety, predicting risk, analysing behaviours, monitoring fatigue, and even influencing decisions leaders make. It promises earlier warnings, better data, and fewer injuries, but it also raises uncomfortable questions. Who is accountable when an algorithm gets it wrong? Can a system trained on past data reproduce old biases and unsafe assumptions? At what point does monitoring for safety become surveillance of workers? And perhaps most importantly, should efficiency ever outweigh dignity, consent, and trust? Safety has always been about more than compliance and control. It's about value, how we choose to protect people, how we balance risk and productivity, and how we define responsibility. AI does not remove those ethical choices, it amplifies them. In this video, we will explore the ethical tensions behind AI in occupational health and safety, where it can genuinely improve protection, where it may create new risks, and how leaders can use it without losing sight of the human at the center of safety. Because the real question is not whether AI can make work safer, it is whether we can use AI safely, ethically, and why. Welcome to the Vimes Consulting Unreliable Guide to the Ethics of Using AI in Health and Safety. With me, Nick Bates. Hairy A. Not that hairy, but you know what I mean. How did you like the intro? I didn't write it. AI did. I just said, write me an intro to a video about the ethics of AI in health and safety, and that's what it told me to do. What I find most interesting about what it gave me is not what it told me to say, it's what it thinks is important. Although, hang on a second, AI doesn't think, does it? It's not conscious, it's not considered. It's just an algorithm predicting the next best work. Let's take a step back for a second. In 1966, a major event occurred in Wales that had huge influence on how health and safety legislation was developed, and should still resonate with our decision making today. The Pantglas Junior School was located in Aberfan, South Wales. On the morning of the 21st of October 1966, a colliery spoiled heap located above the school collapsed. The resulting avalanche of slurry buried the school and several nearby houses. 116 children and 28 adults were killed. The resulting inquiry into the incident found that the National Coal Board ignored warnings about the instability of the tip. This was partly due to organisations being organisations, I suppose, but partly due to the fact that the Factory Act didn't raise concerns about what happened outside your business. It just had rules around what you couldn't do within your business. This incident, and a few others, was one of the catalysts behind the Robins Report and the resulting UK Health and Safety at Work Act. It was recognised that companies should have a responsibility not only to those directly employed by them, but also people who could be directly and indirectly harmed by their operations. I think most of us who work don't want our work to cause harm to others, unless you're a boxer, I suppose.
And look at Jake Paul's face. He knew it right away. He said, woo!
But let's not get too distracted. Those of us directly employed to prevent or, at a minimum, mitigate harm, even more so. So I don't want to really get into the outputs of AI, the hallucinations, what it gets wrong. I'd like to look at what it took to get us from no AI to AI. AI, specifically in this case large language models like Claude and ChatGPT, didn't build themselves. It wasn't Skynet self-aware.
I have detailed files.
Large language models need data, and lots of it. And they also need someone, an actual real human, to look at the training data and label it. So the algorithm has a place to start from. AI doesn't really know anything until someone tells it what a a thing is. Over time, it then learns to associate. In order for AI to know what is acceptable in society and what isn't, someone has to look at the data and categorize it.
Can you guess which spot that goes?
The square.
That's right. It goes in the square hole.
Yes.
And how about this rectangle? That one,
Also the square.
it goes in there too.
Yeah.
Up next, we've got this thin rectangle.
The thin
Can
rectangle.
you guess where that goes?
The thin rectangle.
That's right. It goes in the square hole. And up next, a cylinder.
The circle.
I think that goes in
The circle.
the square hole. Now, we've also got this semicircle right here. Do you see a slot that would fit
The
the
semicircle.
semicircle?
The semicircle.
That's right. It's the square hole.
This wouldn't have been as much of an issue if the type and quality of data that was used to train the models in the first place was known. But in the true spirit of tech bros, they didn't have a clue what they were training. They just wanted data.
I am attempting to fill a silent moment with non-relevant conversation.
This left them with an issue. You can't market a system that can't tell the difference between a, I don't know, cat and a tiger, never mind one that can't identify abuse in all of its forms. The solution was to have people review images, read text, and tag them accordingly to a predefined schedule. What this resulted in was a huge number of migrant workers being employed in precarious jobs that had poor health outcomes. They were asked to spend hours labouring not only the worst of what already exists and was scraped from the internet, but also the worst of what the developers of the algorithms can think up themselves. Just pause for a second and think about it. In order for you to be able to make a caricature of yourself that you post on a social media site, like for example LinkedIn, in order to create engagement, people were harmed. As Mofat Akinyi, a Kenyan content moderator, explained in the 2023 Guardian article, he would view up to 700 text passages a day, many depicting graphic sexual violence. He recalls he started avoiding people after having read texts about rapists and found himself projecting paranoid narratives onto the people around him. His wife eventually told him he was a changed man and left. She was pregnant. I lost my family. I lost everything. Of course, this is nothing new. We, in what are supposedly developed countries, have been buying products that have been made by low-wage workers in terrible conditions for years. So why is the development of AI any different? I think it's different because of one main reason: the scale. The level of investment being put into these models is astounding. That money is being spent on data centers and resources to expand this technology, and that surely has to be a constant. Especially given part of the gamble is that the technology will address the environmental issues its very existence creates. Who knows what the future holds? But even if that turns out to be the case, and it does come up with the answer to the ultimate question, and no, it's not 42, the fact that until that time does come, the impact is happening now. The models are already affecting freshwater drinking supplies to vulnerable communities. They are creating harm now, and as yet we're no closer to building a system that can do anything more than copy what has already gone before it. All of these concerns are amplified if what you are using AI for is to protect the minority of the people who work in your organization. These concerns that I've raised so far are all based on the way that the large players in the market have been built. If we are to use this technology to have a positive influence, then the models we use should be ethically constructed. This means having accurate knowledge of the data used to train the model and ensuring that those who originally created the insights have agreed to be part of the system. A paper by Suzanne Duncan with the excellent title, "Fit for Our Purpose, Not Yours," explores an alternative and more sustainable approach to the use of AI. This paper outlines how a small but ethically sourced data set can have significant impact on the natural language processing capabilities for indigenous languages. By taking care of where the data that is used to build a model comes from and involving those with a cultural understanding of the data sets and an intrinsic urge to be part of the process, a more accurate and sustainable algorithm can be built. This approach has many positives. Only ethically sourced data sets are used. Those providing the data know how it will be used and have not only agreed to participate in the process, but also retain control of the data. Due to the controlled nature of the data sets used, environmental impact is minimized and response accuracy can meet a higher benchmark than those possible with standard large language models. It also means that we don't need people unfamiliar with the data sets to go through it and label it, because the people are giving it and are prepared to do that themselves. This, at least to me, seems like the path we should be following. Organizations like Anthropic and OpenAI are seeking to discover artificial general intelligence, a computer that is able to reason like a human. But is that really what we need as a society? I've always been terrified of Skynet. While it's certainly true that human beings can apply logic and reason to the things they encounter, whether this is a default setting is unlikely. If I quickly look around the news today at how humans interact with the world around them, I'm not really sure that I want machines to operate the same way. I believe there's a great opportunity to build controlled, task-specific AI systems in which we know what data they were trained on. And this data is being sourced and verified without causing harm to people, either through theft of the data or psychological harm through categorizing. The supply chain of fast fashion and other consumer goods is now monitored more closely by consumers, which has in turn forced corporations, if not to solve all the issues for vulnerable low-paid workforces, at least agree to some minimum standards. As recently as last December, the United States issued an executive order that precludes states from regulating AI, prompting pushbacks from civil liberties groups who fear it will adversely affect vulnerable users. As the Vice President J.D. Vance said in his speech in February, the AI future is not going to be won by hand-wringing about safety. Who knows what he means by winning? My assumption is that in this particular statement, he means winning is code for making as much money for investors as is humanly possible, regardless of the cost to society. The true American way. Which brings me back to health and safety. There's no doubt that technology such as AI can positively impact how work is understood and designed, but this progress will come at a cost. For many, the cost has already been borne by those in vulnerable, low-paid roles. Is using AI to generate a picture on LinkedIn a good use of a resource? Is supporting large language models that have already caused untold harm acceptable? I'm going to leave you with this question. What level of harm is acceptable to people you're never going to meet in order to protect the people that you know? Because that's fundamentally what we're talking about.